So we had a big last month, and now it's getting bigger this month. That's terrific. Great to see you all. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wow. Yes, we have Executive Vice President Arnie Katz, who's just going to be introducing some distinguished guests and saying their names. Can you please do that?
That's all they have. Take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. We wish you all celebrating Hanukkah a very happy Hanukkah, and anyone who celebrates Christmas, Merry Christmas. Let's all have a good holiday season, safe, and respect each other. Thank you. All right, these are our friends who've chosen to join us this morning. Ed Saul from Emily Schlossberg's office. Dana Ackerman-White from Commissioner Kerner's office. Sherry McCardle from South Florida Water Management. Mike Pratt from the Property Appraiser's office. Howie Zimmerman.
We have also with us
Our guests should sign in when they want to be.
Okay. Howie Zimmerman from the Property Appraiser's office. Daniela Bocanegra, a legislative aide. Tony Keeler from the firefighters of Palm Beach County. Major Chris Keene from PBSO. And if I missed anybody, I'm very sorry.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Great. We have just a few announcements, and then we're going to hear from our first responders. The Condo HOA Board Certification Course, tomorrow evening, 6 o'clock on Zoom. You can sign up right here or right where Chairman of the Board, Bob Schulbaum, is sitting, and for the course. And then we'll send you a link. It's going to be on Zoom. Or else you can always write to Alliance of Delray at bellsouth.net, or to me, or call me on the phone, in order to sign up for any of these courses. We're updating our community information forms. We've been sending it out to all the presidents and managers, so please update so everybody continues to get these really important newsletters. And also is on our email list, of course. And our mature driver course has resumed. So we're starting again in January. And Joel is our special projects manager, and he runs the course. It's for credit, and we give a special price to our members when they have it. It's only $10 to take the course, and you get credit on your insurance when you have the Florida insurance. That's a state law that you should receive some credit taking the senior mature driver course. So if your community would like to participate in this, you can just get in touch with Alliance of Delray at bellsouth.net or call me on the phone, and we'll arrange for your community in the clubhouse to present this course. Next month, we're going to have another terrific meeting. We're going to be hearing from our attorney, Josh Gershwin, all about life after COVID in the Community Association, so that should be really good. We have announcements now and updates from our first responders. Lieutenant Morales.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Vandercourt, for that wonderful introduction. As she mentioned, my name is Mike Morales. I'm the executive officer over in District 4, which we're located right across from Kings Point off Cumberland Drive, okay? I hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I certainly did. The family and I went up to New Jersey for a week. Very cold. Very happy to be back here in Florida, where the weather's more appropriate for my liking. So, as we get started, I wanted to bring to your attention that this time of year for us at the Sheriff's Office, as I'm sure for our partners at Fire Rescue. It's a very busy time of year for us. Our call volumes increase dramatically, okay? We get increased calls of domestic violence, DUIs, traffic crashes, and unfortunately suicides. So what does that mean? That puts a strain on our resources during this time of year. But it's okay. We get through it every year as we do. So we ask you to be cognizant and aware while you're driving to prevent accidents, to be alert and avoid being distracted during this time of year. Our holiday action plan, we got that in full swing. What that means is we're providing extra patrols for our plazas and our businesses for the shoppers during this busy time of year. One cool resource that we have new this year that we're using is our Sky Cop trailer. What that is a trailer that we placed over at Delray Marketplace. It has about 10 cameras on it pointing in every different direction. Well, now what's really neat about this resource is that our real-time crime center is able to monitor that in real time. So if you're in the marketplace area and you see this weird-looking trailer with the sheriff's office symbols on it, that's what it is. You can say, you know, that's the Sky Cop trailer, okay? Speaking of shopping, I wanted to go over a couple shopping tips. I know it gets redundant, but it's important that we say it every year. When you go shopping and you leave your car, and you come back, do not leave any valuables that are visible in the car. Your purse, your shopping bags, where should we put those? In the trunk, that's right. So remember that when you're shopping during this time of year. Speaking of crime tips, we had a couple vehicle burglaries over in Huntington Lakes. They all occurred overnight, and there was 3 of them. Guess what the common factor was with all 3 of the burglaries? Their cars was unlocked. So we have a lot of leaders here from each community present. I ask you, if you have the ability to communicate with your residents where you live in your community, to put out a message as a reminder to lock your vehicles. Because if those 3 cars were locked, the crime probably doesn't even happen. So crime prevention. So again, as a reminder, if you can put on your newsletter to remind your residents to lock the vehicles, okay? One more thing for during the holidays, Hanukkah and the holidays, we are providing extra patrols. Our House of Worship liaisons are going to be at the Houses of Worship, so you'll see them visibly patrolling the communities and the complexes as well, okay? Couple more things. No Shave November, as you can tell. Some of us are rocking a beard. What that is a charity. It's called No Shave November. It benefits the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Foundation, and we're raising some really good money, which the foundation does fantastic things for the community. So if you see some of the deputies with the beard, that's what it is. It's No Shave November. And last but not least, we have a Toys for Tots drive going on. We have a collection box at our district, so if you have any unopened toys that you'd like to donate, we have a box over at the district. And that's about it. I wish everybody happy holidays, be safe, and we'll catch you next month, okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent, thank you. We have, from our firefighters, our Chief Hund. Chief Hund, great to see you this morning.
Put my glasses on here. Good morning, good to see everyone. So, our planning department at Fire Rescue, they're constantly pulling statistics and numbers, trying to see, you know, where the most calls are happening, what types of calls are happening, are there any trends, you know, so we can better allocate the resources of Fire Rescue. This helps a lot of times, you know, where should we put extra personnel, where should we build a new station. So they're always pulling statistics, continually trying to better our service to the community. So every year at the end of the year, they kind of pull statistics that for the whole year. So they sent those to me, and I wanted to go over a few with you, some interesting facts that happened this year that you might be interested in. Starting off with the Alliance fire stations, Station 42, Station 45, and Station 52. The call volume was up a little bit this year.
Station 42 ran a little over 5,000 calls already this year. Station 45 is close to 7,000 calls, and Station 52 is a little over 2,000 calls for the year. Now, our year for fire rescue runs October to October, so that's the year that these statistics were pulled from. So, just like you, this past year, COVID affected fire rescue considerably. It increased our call volume and, affected us with a lot of preventative measures internally and externally. But from October to October, the COVID rate was, throughout the county, the most COVID calls were in this battalion, Battalion 4, West Delray, West Boynton area. Starting last October, we had about 190 calls countywide, and by December and January, that increased up to 580 calls, COVID calls countywide. We had a big jump in January, and then it all started to drop back down. From January to June, in June we had 49 COVID calls, so it really dropped. But then July and August is when we hit our peak for COVID calls. That was about the same time you saw that Delta variant in the news. And in August, we hit our peak with 900 COVID calls for the month. That's countywide. But as I said, in this battalion, out of those 900 calls, 200 were in Battalion 4. So since August, it started to drop back down, and now we're at a low rate again, as you can see, with a lot of the mask mandates being pulled and some of the precautions being taken away thanks to the subsiding of the spread. But just some interesting statistics regarding that for you. Another statistic they pulled is the top 5 types of calls that we ran this year. So this year, the top 5 calls that we were called for or dispatched for, number 1 is a sick person call. Just generalized sick person, somebody calls, they're not feeling well. Number 2 on the list, falls with injuries, falling down and injuring yourself. Number 3, respiratory issues, trouble breathing. Number 4, fire alarms. And our number 5 was fall uninjured, for people that fell but just needed assistance up. Those were our top dispatch calls for the year. Kind of getting back to what we've talked about for a few months and what PBSO's mentioned, our biggest increase of the year, the call type that we saw the biggest increase in was car accidents, up 20% from the previous year, and that's countywide. So, as we continue to say, be careful driving out there, especially during the holidays. You know, just coming over here, traffic was crazy. Be careful out there. The last thing I wanted to mention, as PBSO, we also have our Toys for Tots at each fire station. So if you can't get over to PBSO, we have the boxes at the fire stations. You're more than welcome to stop by and drop off some toys. That's all I have for now. I look forward to seeing everybody next year. Have a great holiday. Stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you for your updates. We so appreciate them. We have a special guest today, brand newly elected mayor of Palm Beach County, Bob Weinroth. Welcome, Mayor.
Thank you, Lori. And it's my privilege to be your mayor this year. Dave Kerner has given up the gavel after 2 years. It's been a tough 2 years for him to carry the weight of our county on his shoulders, but with the pandemic receding, we went back to our normal rotation, and so I am your mayor this year. Our vice mayor is Greg Weiss. He's the District 2 district commissioner. And as always, if you need anything, you can reach out either to my office or to Maria Sachs. We all work together, so if there's anything you need, please reach out to us. I want to just say, first of all, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays to everybody. We're not going to see you again. It's nice to see you. You know, those virtual meetings have, grown a little bit old. I have to buy some more pants now, you know. All those shorts I've been using over the last 2 years, I have to retire them and put on long pants again. So I'm sure you're the same way, and some of those pants probably didn't fit anymore. So I want you to enjoy the holidays, but I also want you not to be too trusting. This is a time for scams, and we need to be extra vigilant. When someone calls you up and says they have something that sounds it's a little bit too good to be true, it probably isn't true. They're probably trying to mine you for some information. They want your name, they want your social security number, they want your date of birth, and then they're going to go to town and they're going to create a false identity and they're going to create problems for you. So don't be extra trusting during the holidays. If someone calls you up with a deal that sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. Okay, so don't do anything like that. Now, you heard the sheriff talk about suicides. Obviously, this is a time of season when people do have stress issues. Of course, after coming out of this pandemic, it's been really tough on our families. I want you to remember 211. If anybody needs a little bit of help, if they've not emergency help, 911, not a fire, not a need for a policeman, but if you need someone to listen to you, if you're having some problems, if you want a sunshine call, if you want to make sure someone calls you every morning to make sure you woke up, 211 is the place to go. And they have very, very nice people there, counselors if you need help. They have people who will call you every morning to make sure that you're up and healthy and everything's going on. So remember, 211, they're there to help you. And finally, when we're talking about the telephone, you probably, if you haven't found out already, the telephone numbers now are going to become 10-digit. You're going to have to now dial the 561 on the phone numbers going forward. And if it hasn't started in your particular area, it's going to start soon. They've run out of phone numbers, and in fact, we're going to have another area code in the next year or so that's going to be overlaid onto the 561. So in preparation for that, there is going to be a requirement that even if your next door neighbor has the same number as yours, except the last couple numbers, you still have to dial 561, tra-la, tra-la, tra-la. So that's enough for me. Again, I want you all to have a great holiday. It's great to be your mayor. And again, anything you need, please reach out to my office. I know Yalen is in here somewhere. Yalen, where are you? There she is, back in the back of the room. If you need anything, please reach out to Yalen, Lucia, Caitlin, and as I said, Maria's office, Maria Sachs. She has most of your condominiums and homeowners associations, but we work together. Anything you need, please reach out. Have a great holiday.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to you. We're looking forward to a great year with our new mayor, Bob Weinroth. Yes, the alliance does extend into Mayor Weinroth's district and into Mac Bernard's district over in Delray. We go from the Everglades to the ocean. And of course, District 5 with Maria Sachs, who just couldn't make it this morning. She has a speaking engagement that she couldn't. She loves to come here, but we'll see her next month, I'm sure. Now, with all of those new phone numbers, it's obvious that there's a whole lot of people moving to Delray Beach and Palm Beach County. So we need to have some good planning ahead. And we need to control the zoning. And we need to work with the building. So we have planning, zoning, and building here today. The first speaker who is going to be presenting the program is Ramsey Buckley. You'll be running the program, correct? Right. Ramsey Buckley, he is an attorney, but he is also the executive director of planning, zoning, and building. He's helped us very much over the last few years with several projects in the Delray Beach area along the avenue. And he'll be introducing some people from planning, zoning, and building. And I asked him to particularly bring information on the workforce housing program, because we are going to be hearing more about that, especially in considering possibly in the agriculture reserve. These things are all being discussed now with the commission, thought about, and they're working on planning. So here, please help us welcome Ramsey Buckley.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone here. It's been quite some time, and like Commissioner Weinroth said, Zoom meetings, I'm tired of Zooming because you just don't get the same coffee, nor the same bagels, and again, I'm also run out of long pants, so good to see everyone here in person. What I'd like to do first is we have 2 new members of our staff for planning, zoning, and building, and just a little recap of planning, zoning, and building, and who and what we are. Planning and zoning and building, we are in charge of planning department, zoning, building, code enforcement, and contractor certification. So for the most part, everything that touches your property kind of comes through our office, which is kind of good because everything's all together. So with that, I've got a new zoning director. Her name's Lisa Mara. She's been with the county 20 plus years. She used to be in planning, now she's in zoning, so she broke out of jail and back into jail, so here she is today. And she'll give you a couple words. And then I have a new deputy director, Whitney Carroll. She's my right-hand man / woman. If you can't get hold of me, you get hold of Whitney. Kind of like if you can't get hold of Commissioner Weinroth, you get hold of us, and we'll help you out as best we can. So before I get started with my presentation, I'll let them come up and just give you a few words, and then we'll carry on with the show.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Whitney Carroll. Like Ramsey mentioned, I'm the Deputy Director for Planning, Zoning, Building, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm here if any questions come up. And as Mayor Weinroth mentioned about season of the scams and things like that, we are here to monitor building permits and making sure that if you have a contractor, please make sure they're a licensed contractor, and please make sure you're asking the question whether you need a permit. So those kinds of questions come through our office all the time. So we're here to help. If you need anything, you know where to find us. Thank you.
Good morning, Lisa Mara. As Ramsey mentioned, I've been with the Planning Division and with the county since 1995. I'm originally from Connecticut. I don't know how many of you are native Floridians, but when you're here for a certain amount of time, you get to say you're Floridian. For me, it's 1990. In the Planning Division, my expertise was land use changes and the agricultural reserve. And with the zoning division, what we do is, I don't know if anyone else hears that or stuff. So if you see development in the county, if you see a white sign that says land use change, that is the planning division. If you see a yellow sign up on a property in an unincorporated county, usually with a code on that, that is an application that's going through the zoning division. The zoning division and planning reach out to Delray Alliance every time there's a proposal in your area. We also do a lot to reach out to every homeowners association surrounding any project that comes through the process. Our staff is always available to answer questions. The planning division hosts informational meetings on projects that come through, and we're also available in zoning to do that as well if there's a big project that draws your attention. So I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you in the future, and I think that's everything. Thank you.
And we'll stay here after the program, after everything's done. If anyone wants to stop by and ask a question, we have some business cards we can give out and whatever information you might need. Whitney brought up a very important thing with regards to permits and contractors. We have a lot of scams going on where contractors come to people and say, hey, I can do it cheaper and quicker if you don't go get a permit, or go get an owner-builder permit. And what you don't realize is when you don't pull a permit and they work there without a permit, if they get injured, it's on your dime, it's on your insurance, you're liable. So really take the time, take the effort, when in doubt, call us and get a permit. 9 times out of 10, you need a permit. So I'd really, steer away from those contractors that say, hey, I'll do it cheaper without a permit, because you really have no recourse with that. So that's super important. Right, so with that, workforce housing, what is that, where is that, and how is that? So it's a program that's been around since about 2006. And the whole gist behind this program was people were starting to get priced out. The average home, we'll go to the next slide, I'll be able to show you, but it requires some mandatory, for lack of a better term, gives and takes from the county and developers. We require a small amount for smaller developments, but in some, when larger developments want to gain more density, want to gain more units, there's a price they essentially have to pay. And that price comes in terms of how many workforce housing units they need to or want to provide, and that kind of gives them some more density. The workforce unit program only applies in these areas outlined, and these are typically, for lack of a better term, we call them the urban suburban tier, but it's the more densely populated areas. It's not out in the fields in the EAA, it's the more densely populated areas. So this is typically the areas roughly where they do apply these programs. So going into the little bit of the definition and what workforce housing is. So what we've done is we've established a program between 60 and 140% of the area median income is the bracket that we use for people's financial viability in order to get some of these units. And if you look at the column on the right, you can see the targeted people. It's not affordable housing, it's workforce housing. It's teachers, nurses, attorneys, engineers. I was talking to Captain Keane earlier. These folks have a problem buying houses down here because it's just too expensive, so they have to go to Port St. Lucie. So this program is an attempt to try to keep the people in the community. We want to keep the first responders here, we want to keep the fire folks here, we want to keep the teachers here. So this is a program that the county's established to develop these units, somewhat compulsory for developers in order for them to get their units, and then when they get their units, they provide these workforce housing units. So as you can see, the AMI for 2021 is about $80,000, and then the income range, if you take the 60 to 140%, you have to be earning from 48 to 112, and we break that down into 4 separate categories, ranging from the 48 to the 112. And again, workforce housing is not affordable housing. That's one thing a lot of people get very nervous about when we say there's going to be a workforce housing component. They immediately think about, is this going to be Section 8? Is this going to be low rent housing, substandard housing? No, it's not that. I'll give you a classic example. If anyone is familiar with Uptown Boca, there's about 400 units there. 25% of those units are workforce housing units. Now, if anyone's ever been there, you probably wouldn't ever realize that 25% of those units are workforce housing. And they've been reserved and deed restricted, so the rents can only be a certain amount based upon the amount of square footage and the amount of bedrooms. So again, why is this needed? Here's a few facts here. 57% of Palm Beach County workers are employed in the low-wage service sector, and they earn between 40 to 60% of the median household income. In November 2020, sales price for a single family was $418,000. That jumped to almost $500,000 in October of this year. So it's expensive. No one fresh out of college can get that. Your typical first responder can't get that. Your typical fire guy can't get that. Your typical deputy can't get that. Typical teacher can't get that. The list goes on and on. Your typical waiter can't get that. So all these service folks, they just cannot afford to live here, so they end up driving out to Port St. Lucie or other areas or somewhat substandard housing to be here. Additionally, if they can afford that, they afford it at such a disability where they spend almost 50% of the income just on housing. And as we all know, typically it's between 20 and 30% is the most you should spend on housing, but most people are stretched to 50, which impacts everything else in their life. So here are some examples of some of the pricing that we have for some of our workforce housing products that get put on the market. Our sale units range, depending on size, square footage, bedrooms, from 168 to 312,000. That's still up there, but it's better than the 500,000 average price in Palm Beach County. Then the rental units go from 963 to 3,500. Granted, 3,500 is fairly steep, but if that's a 4-bedroom, that might be somewhat affordable. So this gets a little bit complicated, but I'll give you again, I'll refer to Uptown as a bit of an example. Uptown got some density bonuses to get more units, and the way they got these density bonuses is they utilized, we have a point system, and we have to review compatibility, and then it also goes in front of the Board of County Commissioners. So when you put all these factors together, they make the presentation in front of the Board of County Commissioners and essentially say, if you give me more units, more density, I can provide more workforce housing. So they were actually one of the first folks that did 25% of their units all at workforce housing. And a lot of people have essentially followed that trend to try and get those more units and get more density. But keep in mind, and Lisa's here, she can explain further later on if we need to, but we really look at compatibility. We don't just throw thousands of units together to upset the neighbors. We still look at all the compatibility, make sure that it jives and make sure it meshes with the neighborhood and make sure it's compatible and buffered appropriately. Some options with workforce housing is you don't have to build them all on site. You can build them yourself on site. You can have another developer build them on site. You can purchase existing units and designate them as workforce housing units. You can donate land, or you can pay a fee. A lot of people seem to want to just pay the fee and move on. Other times developments are strictly workforce housing and people buy into them essentially like a bank. So there's multiple ways in which to go through how we establish these units. A few numbers. So since 2006, we've got about 2,500 workforce units have been required for the program. About half of them are already built, and the other half are in the pipeline to get built. All those 2,500 units, 60 are rentals. Most of the things that are getting built lately have been more rental units. About a quarter, 25% are for sale units. We have 188 units already sold or under contract. And out of all those fees paid, 14 million have been paid for 185 units in 24 different developments. And we have another 16 million available to spend for more developments coming online. Here's just a few pictures of some of the rental units that have been done lately. You can see they're not Section 8 housing. It's good housing. It looks good. It jives with the community. We haven't had any complaints from anyone. If we have had complaints, we've gone out there. They've been totally unfounded. But everything seems to be working well with this program. Keep in mind, it is a push and a tug with developers because we're dealing with property rights, and they're trying to say we're extracting, and we're trying to say we're providing for the community. So when we give up density, we expect something in return. So it is a bit of a struggle because everything comes down to numbers and comes down to money. But I think we've held fast, and I think we're doing a fairly good job at getting these. But obviously, we need more, and we'll keep doing more. And there's constant discussions with the Board of County Commissioners on providing more of these types of units. Here's some more pictures of just some for sale units. And just in sum, here's contact information. We'll send some information to Laurie. She can send it out to everyone on who to get hold of to discuss this further. This is just a brief overview. It gets very complicated very quickly. But if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. And just in sum with all of this, we haven't been here for a long time. And I just want to reiterate to everyone, our office is always open. Please call us, email us. We have so much information on our website. Everything and anything you want to know about anything is on there. It's just a matter of navigating. But we're always here, go through the Commissioner's office or come through us. If we don't know the answer, we'll get you the answer. We work very closely with the Sheriff's Department, particularly with crime matters. Sometimes crime, a simple thing as a hole in a fence doesn't mean much to people, but the hole in the fence stops the people from running into, breaking into cars. But if I can fix the hole through code enforcement, it helps. So little things like that help. If the lights are out at night, we can address that through code enforcement. Our building department can address a lot of issues too. So anything that you have regarding touching your property, please reach out and we'll do the best we can to help you. With that, I am finished with my presentation. And like I said, we'll stay afterwards to answer any more questions and be more than happy just to chat with anyone just in general. Thank you.
We generally have some people ask some questions right here. If we can allow people to come up to the microphone, and you could either have you or Lisa or Whitney answer the question, that would be great. If there's anyone, I know that Mike Adler came up and you'll come up to the microphone and speak, okay? Great.
With all these developments going on and everything, what about the traffic on Atlantic Avenue? Wasn't there any consideration with everything going on? It's horrendous and terrible of constantly allowing all these developments to be built on Atlantic Avenue, especially Terra Nova. And I was at one of the meetings with Terra Nova. And no matter what we said, no matter what, even the Delray Alliance was against Terra Nova, and Terra Nova was built.
So I'll address Terra Nova specifically. Terra Nova was previously approved as a commercial shopping center with way more traffic than what is going to be developed with this. So they had already been approved for the traffic. Additionally, the county doesn't have much control with regards to when it comes to traffic. We're somewhat constrained per statute. So we're limited. We do some, intersection improvements where we can, where it's warranted. But some of these are state roads, some are county roads, and some are local roads. Our jurisdiction's really tight. But Terra Nova is a unique one. It was already approved for way more traffic than what's going to be generated right now. And I know that doesn't make you happy. And I know I want to hear more complaints, but unfortunately that's just how it was. And I know everyone got used to the cows sitting in the field for so long and no traffic and no turning out and no congestion. But it was approved for a much more intense commercial use. So yeah, it puts us in a difficult situation because we hear these complaints and so does our traffic department.
And there's no respect for the other outlying developments that are close by with the hammering in the morning, 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, of disturbing all the developments. In fact, the shuttering is so much that you hear the building shake.
Okay, so then you speak to me afterwards. They shouldn't be starting before 7, and vibration should be kept at a minimum. Our building code addresses all of that. Next thing, what we should do, and maybe what I can speak to the developers, is perhaps start, instead of having them start at 7, maybe start them at 8. And next time a project comes through, please keep that in your back of your minds. Maybe those are some of the concerns where we limit the construction hours so we don't disturb you guys as much while they're building. If something goes through a public hearing, we can limit that, but our code does go from, I believe, 7 to 10 at night. But we can shrink that down if we need to help with the residents.
I'll talk to you later.
Yes, code enforcement is really very good to approach with that issue. We had an issue with some of our members riding bicycles down Hagen Ranch Road, and there was a lot of the runoff from the Terra Nova project going into the bike lane, and they had to go out into traffic, but we called code enforcement and they took care of it. So that's good. So if you see anything like that, code enforcement are the people to speak to. Go ahead.
I'm not here to voice any of my complaints. I have just a question. Could you please explain what the in lieu fee is and what do you get for it? Microphone.
He asked what the in lieu fee is and what do you get for it, the money that they pay and it goes into the bank.
So the in lieu fee is, if you're supposed to build one single family workforce unit, instead of building it, you can pay $126,380 to a bank that the county has, where the county can take that money and then go spend it on a unit. So if they don't want to build all of these on their, say for instance, Terra Nova has to do 50 units, 50 townhomes. They can pay 50 times 105, give it to the county, and they don't have to build any on their property. The county will take that money in a bank and they will go put it elsewhere.
Okay, can you ask the question? Go ahead. Sure.
My question regards the Big Apple Market, which has yellow signs at this time. I understand they're considering having storage and possibly a car wash. I think that's detrimental to the area because there's always been some form of markets where people could go to. And, you know, it became sort of part of the chemistry and the atmosphere of the area. I think bringing in another storage area, which we have on Haven Ranch, we have on Atlantic Avenue, I don't think that's advantageous to our area. And there is a car wash on the corner of Military and Atlantic. So I don't see the benefit of having that there. And I'd like to know where we are with those yellow signs.
All right, I'll let Lisa speak to that, but before she comes there, let me elaborate on a few things. So you don't want storage, but you want market. Now, be the other side. People want storage and they don't want market because there's no traffic with storage, there's tons of traffic with the market. So we get the conflict in all over. Then with regards to the car wash, some people want it because they want the convenience, some people don't want it because it might be too noisy. But I'm just explaining what we have to wrestle with all the time.
If there was none there, I would say, yes, you're right. You need to have, you have one right in the middle of Atlantic Avenue, right opposite the shopping center where Publix is on Atlantic Avenue, not the new one, the old one.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is something that's there. It's not that you're bringing something that's not in existence at present.
So let me explain a little bit about the white signs and the yellow signs. 99.99 times when you see one of those signs, it's a private property owner asking for the change of use. The county built this facility, for example. We built and own Murakami Park. Governmental facilities are pretty much the only thing that planning, zoning, building will process. And for ourselves. And every one of those other white signs and yellow signs, it's a private property owner where the owner of the Big Apple Market has decided that they no longer want to continue and they're looking for a contract purchaser to sell the property to, and they have found a buyer that wants to put in self-storage and the other uses on the site. So that comes through the zoning process, and there's different kinds of zoning applications. Some are public hearing items that go to the zoning commission, which is an advisory board, and some are types of applications that go to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. I'll get your contact information after this meeting, and I'll also share with Lori to share with the group, and I'll find out specifically if that item will go to the Board of County Commissioners or the Zoning Commission for approval, and share opportunity for public comment on that one. But as far as processing, when you see those signs, if somebody meets the requirements to apply, we have to process now.
I understand that.
Right.
I just, you know, I live very close to it. I live right off the Flora in Atlantic. And like I said, I've been here for 25 years. And I've seen this place grow and grow and grow. And all these apartments and housing and storage units and you name it, I've seen it coming in. And I just don't think it's to our advantage to have another one right in the middle of nowhere.
Well, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we can get your comments incorporated into the record for that project.
I have one other question, if I may. The housing that for affordable income, I'm sorry, I don't want to get, the affordable housing. I remember a number of years ago on Military, there was affordable housing built. I would say it's midway between Atlantic and, or it passed Lake Ida going north. And I was wondering, is there a time limit that you stay in those homes before you sell them? Because I recall distinctly that when these were built, they were very inexpensive by comparison to, not compared to the prices today. And then within a year and a half, those houses went through the ceiling and people were selling them. So I was just wondering if there's going to be any time limits that you have to stay a year or two or whatever
For that particular project, I believe that's in the city of Delray Beach, and that's not one of the county projects. For affordable housing, I can't speak to that. We don't do a lot of affordable housing projects in the county. The bulk is our workforce housing developments, which are not the low income. The workforce housing program requires that the units are 15 years held at the workforce housing rate. So I know in the past,
That's good.
yeah, in the past, some other programs had different timeframes, but ours is
Thank you.
15.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's also just about that, leaving the market there. The developer did speak with the Alliance. I let the developer know that there's also another car wash at the corner of near Jog and near Atlantic. It's on the Home Depot site there. So that's another car wash. So that's, you know,
Right.
they should look more into and investigate before they propose things. But further, the most important issue with that particular site and that particular application is the height. And we have an issue with the height. So I think if staff could look at that, we need to bring it down because this could overtower several houses that are directly behind it in one of our communities. So if we can discuss that too. But it's the height, and I do believe they want to do a 5-story.
That's what I heard.
And that is way high. So we need to bring it down. We'll be telling our commissioners about that, our issues with that. Thank you so much about that. And well, Lisa, while you're up there, and she is a wealth of knowledge on the agricultural reserve. We have a nice group here. They don't get overly emotional about things, but it is an issue that is going to be coming up. Can you give us some insight into what staff what's happening with staff with the agricultural reserve now, what the direction the county gave staff for thinking about changes to the agricultural reserve? Can you give us a little synopsis?
Sure, and for those of you who may not know, the Agricultural Reserve is located west of the Turnpike over to pretty much the Loxahatchee Wildlife Refuge, north of Clintmore Road, and roughly south of Hypoluxo Road. It's that large area of land. And since 1980, at least, that area has been designated to preserve agriculture, environmentally sensitive lands, and to limit residential density. If you build a regular housing project, you can only get one house per 5 acres. If you do a planned community, what we call an ag-reserve planned unit development, you could get one house per acre, but instead of having 1 acre lots, you cluster those houses into 40% of your land area. So you generally get a community such as the Four Seasons, that's located in the Agricultural Reserve. Those lots are about three houses per acre. But for every community in the Agricultural Reserve, there's an off-site preserve area, which is set aside for agricultural uses or environmentally sensitive lands. And over the past 5 years or so, there's been a lot of requests. Other places, key points, Bednar's on State Road 7's in the Ag Reserve, the New Joseph's Market on Atlantic, of course Delray Marketplace, those are all places in the Agricultural Reserve. We've been getting in the county a lot of requests from private developers to expand the amount of uses in the Agricultural Reserve, and we just had a workshop at the board. It's online. It was a 2-part workshop. There was a date in October, and then there was November 3rd. And you can see what the direction was, verbatim if you'd like to watch it. But in summary, the board told us to look at some ideas to add more workforce housing options in the Ag Reserve, possibly on Atlantic, possibly on Boynton Beach Boulevard, and come back to the board. So we plan on expanding that conversation in February at the, I think it's the 3rd, I'm not 100% sure, but the Planning Division Board of County Commissioner meetings in February. We'll have some ideas and updates for the board at that time. But there's a tremendous amount of requests. There's other issues in the Ag Reserve have been landscape services and industrial requests. We did have a request for a very large 50-acre industrial site at the Turnpike in Atlantic. That is withdrawn, thankfully, but we do have a lot of little industrial requests kind of all over, and some more, another self-storage and car wash. I don't know how those two things seem to go together. But there's another request next to the new Dunkin' Donuts on the south side of Atlantic. That'll be coming in. That will definitely be a public hearing item to go before the Planning Commission and the Zoning Commission and the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you very much for that information, and our group gets all of this information. It's in our newsletters. We've been writing about this, and we've been giving all the updates on the Agriculture Reserve. They all know about this, and they're very engaged, and that is a wonderful thing. We have a wonderful group of membership, and those who aren't here right now, I'm sure they'll be back soon. It's just getting bigger every month, and we can watch this tomorrow on YouTube. There'll be a recap of this. So thank you very much. That's everything. Ramsey, any final words?
Just lastly, all of these discussions involve development, and what's driving the development? We live in a great place. Everyone wants to come down here. I'll give you just a quick number. In 2015, we issued about 45 to 50,000 building permits. This year, we're going to be 90,000. We're approaching $3 billion worth of improvement value in just unincorporated Palm Beach County. It's gone through the roof. And part of the reason is we have a great place to live. It's good and bad because it is so good to live here. Everyone's coming down here. So we're here to try to control it and make it the best place it can so it can stay viable and good. So thank you everyone for your time, and I will see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramsey. Buckley, very good. Everybody wants to live here. That's right. And everybody wants to be us. We're the Alliance. We're great. You are the community leaders. Bring all this information back to your communities. And remember, stay engaged with our emails and our newsletters. And we'll see you next month with a terrific program from Joshua Gersten, all about COVID, post-COVID world in our communities. Have a terrific holiday season.